So this is 2013 question 7. It's a 100 mark incomplete records type A question, and you're asked to do a trade and profit and loss account for the year ended 31st of the 12th 2012, and you're asked to do a balance sheet, and then we've got an 8 mark theory question at the end. So we're going to start off as always by calculating our goodwill. Okay, see, did we pay any extra for the business? So it says on the 1st of the 1st 2012, Caddy purchased a business for €205,000 consisting of the following tangible assets and liabilities. So you start off by listing your assets, then your liabilities, take them away. So I'm just going to do this shorthand. You don't need to actually do out a big sum. So we go assets. We had premises of 174,000. We then had stock of 14,300. We had debtors of 14,000, and we had insurance prepaid of 430,000. So that is, I'll put it over here, €202,730. Our liabilities then, we had creditors of 17,200, and we also had wages due of €1,200. So our creditors add up to €18,400. You're taking that 18,400 away, and that gives you your net worth. Your net worth works out at 184,330. That's my net worth. My purchase price, the amount I actually spent on the business, was €205,000. So we spent €205,000 on something that was worth 184,330, which means there is a goodwill figure there. Take them away. We spent an extra €20,670, and that is my intangible fixed asset in the balance sheet. Fixed asset in the balance sheet. Okay, next step on these is to calculate your credit sales and your credit purchases, and you do those by doing a T account, a small control account. So I'll go for my debtors here. Debtors and creditors, and you fill in the information that you're given. So you're given opening balances, you're given closing balances, and you've got figures there in your bank. Okay, so we'll start off by debtors. Pop in your opening balance, and that opening balance is €14,000. So balance brought down €14,000. Okay, that's coming from the top of the question. Okay, then if you look into the bank lodgement section, we were paid €32,000 by our debtors. Bank, €32,000. So we had an opening balance of 14,000, we were paid 32,000, and we know that the closing balance, coming from the bottom of the question, is €16,600. Okay, so you need to total these off, and this side is €48,600. So basically what this is, we've got an opening balance. It's usually opening balance, then we'll have our credit sales in here, any payments would go in here, and our closing balance. So we are trying to figure out this figure here, and we have to work backwards to find that out. So I'm totaling the sides. We've got 48,600 here, so that means this side has to be 48,600 as well. Okay, so we only have 14,000. What number can I put in here to make it add up to 48,600? And that is €34,600. And they are my credit sales. So we've now calculated our credit sales. So you're putting in the information that you're given in the question, and you're going to work backwards to find your credit sales. And it's the very same now, same process over here with the creditors. Okay, so we're given our opening balance of €17,200. That's coming from the top of the question. We also are given our bank. In the bank payments, we've paid €34,200 to our creditors. So bank, 34,200. And we're given our closing balance. Okay, and the closing balance is going to go on this side. Carried down of €14,300, and that's coming from the bottom of the question. So €14,300. And the reason I'm putting it on this side is because we know that the creditor's balance is always on the credit side after the line. So if it's supposed to be here after the line, that means it starts off up there. Okay, so same process is over here. Add up and see what needs to go in here to make a balance. So we've got a total of 48,500. 48,500. So what needs to go in here to make this add up to 48,500? So we've got our opening balance, we paid our creditors, and we've a closing balance. So we still owe the €14,300 at the end of the year. So how much credit purchases did we actually make? So it's the 48,500 minus the 17,200, which gives us credit purchases of €31,300. And that is credit purchases. Okay, so that's my credit sales and my credit purchases now calculated. And the next thing I need to do is find out my cash sales and my cash purchases. So if you look at your question where it says cash payments, it says we've got cash payments on purchases of €51,000. So we are given our cash purchases straightforward, but we are not given our cash sales. Okay, so you need to do a small cash account to calculate our cash sales. So cash account, and I'll just do don't know how many lines I need. Just push this up. So it doesn't say we have a balance of cash at the start of the year. If we do, we'd put it in here. So in this question we don't, and it doesn't say that there's any other form of cash income. So the only cash income we're going to have is sales. So you're going to start putting in your cash payments. So we have cash payments in the form of lodgements, so they're going on the credit side. Remember, a cash account is an asset account, so this is your adding in side and this is your minus side. Okay, so we've cash lodgements, which basically means we took money out of the cash account and lodged it into the bank. And you can see the double entry there. It says cash lodgements in your cash payment section it says lodgements of 94,000, and in your bank lodgements it says cash of 94,000. So we took 94,000 of cash and put it into the bank account. So we're going to put those lodgements in here now. Lodgements. 94,000. Then we have general expenses of 22,500. We have purchases of 51,000. And then that's everything that's in the cash payment section. But you need to remember in the first point after the bank lodgements, it says Kelly took goods to the value of 80 per week and cash. So we're doing the cash account, so that is important to us now. He took cash of €60 per week for household expenses during the year. So that is going to be drawings. So put in your cash figure. So I'll just do that up here. He took €60 per week, and it's 52 weeks in a year. That means he took €3,120. I'm just doing that there to show you. So €3,120 was taken out of the business for personal use, which is drawings. So I'm writing drawings in here, and we'll put an asterisk beside that so that we know when we're doing our drawings working that we need to put that in. Okay, so what is our closing balance? We have a closing balance in the cash account. We're told at the bottom of the question we have a balance of €550. So we know that the balance in an asset account is on the debit side after the line, so it has to be on the credit side before the line. So that's our balance carried down. Okay, putting that in there, and that will be brought down here, 550. You don't actually need to show this though. Balance. And that will be going into our current assets in the balance sheet. So I'm trying to find out what my cash sales were. So sales. So we're going to total this up. We've got a total of 171,170 euro. 171,170. Okay, so we've got €171,170 on the credit side. We've nothing on the debit side, so that must mean that my cash sales were €171,170. Okay, and now we have all the information that we need. So we have our credit sales, we have our cash sales, we have our credit purchases, and our cash purchases are given to us in the question. So we'll do our total sales and total purchases over here. So total sales is going to be the credit sales of 34,600, and that's credit, and my cash sales of 171,170, and that's cash. So my total sales for the trading account are 205,770. 205,770, and that goes into the trading account. Okay, this is the current asset in the balance sheet. Next is my total purchases. My credit purchases are 31,300 credit. And we've got cash purchases of 51,000 given to us in the question. Cash, you're adding those two together, which is 82,300. However, we need to be careful. Remember that drawings work, and it says Kelly took goods from stock to the value of €80 per week. So that means he was taking purchases for his own use. So we need to remove these here. So he took stock to the value of 80. I'm just doing this over here to show you, by 52 weeks in a year. So that means he took stock to the value of €4,160 in drawings. I'm going to put an asterisk beside that because we need to come back to that when we're doing our drawings working, which leaves our purchases figure at €78,140, and that is going into the trading account. Trading account when we do our profit and loss. Okay, the next step then is to do your workings. So the first working we're going to look at is loan interest, and this is coming from the second point under the bank lodgement. So it says Kelly borrowed €72,000. Okay, so he borrowed money, he got a loan, so that's going to be going into our bank account. When we get to the bank account, it's going to be going on the debit side. So we got the loan on the 1st of July 2012, and our year end is the 31st of the 12th 2012. So it says that it was agreed that the sum borrowed would be repaid in 12 equal instalments over a 6-year period commencing on the 1st of January 2013. And it says interest was to be charged at a rate of 10% per annum and paid monthly. So there's two workings really that comes in this. The first one is your loan interest, so the interest that he has to pay on the loan, and then you have to sort out the loan repayment. So there's a few different ways that loan repayment can come up. It could be that they're paying it off in installments, like the way it is in this question, or it could be that they're going to pay it back in one lump sum, and they're going to set up an investment fund to prepare for it. So we'll deal with the one that we have on this question, which is the paying in installments. But first, before we do that, we're going to calculate the loan interest. So it says that there's €72,000 is the loan. Okay, so the loan itself is €72,000. And the interest that we have to pay on that is 10% per annum. Now, per annum means per year. But we didn't have this loan for the whole year. We only had it from the 1st of July, which means we only had it for 6 months out of the 12. So we should only be paying 6 months interest. So that means the amount of interest we should be paying is €3,600. Okay. Did we have any paid? Always check and see, did you have some paid? Yes, we do. In our bank payment section, we have interest paid of €2,400 paid. So of the 3,600, we've paid 2,400 already, and that means we still are due to pay €1,200. So for this, the €3,600 is going to go in at the bottom of the profit and loss. P&L. That's an expense. And the due figure is current liability in the balance sheet because we still owe that money. Okay, so we have to pay that within the next year. Next is the loan repayment. So loan. So we are paying it back in 12 equal installments. Okay, so the €72,000 is the loan. We're paying it back in 12 installments. Okay, so that means we are paying back €6,000 for every 6 months. So when do we have to start paying that back? Check and see what date. Okay, so they're commencing on the 1st of January 2013. Okay, so basically what you're trying to figure out is how much has to be paid back within 1 year, and that amount will go into our current liabilities, and how much then will be paid after 1 year, and that will go into your long-term liabilities. Okay, so we're starting paying this back on the 1st of the 1st 2013. Okay, 2013, that is within the next financial year. Okay, so we're doing our accounts for the end of 2012. The 1st of the 1st 2013 is in the next financial year, so we're going to have to pay €6,000. Check and see what date is 6 months after that. It's the 1st of the 7th 2013. That's still within the next financial year, so we're going to have to pay another 6,000 then. Okay, and then another 6 months would be in 2014. So we don't care about 2014 at this point. We only care about 2013. So we have to pay €12,000 in 2013. Okay, and the whole loan is 72,000. 12,000 is getting paid next year, which is 2013, which means the remainder, the €60,000, is after 1 year. Okay, so your 12,000 is due in 2013, due in 2013. So that's a current liability. That has to be paid within the next financial year. Okay, so creditors amounts falling due within 1 year. That 12,000 will be falling due for us to pay within 1 year. The 60,000 then is in the years after. So that's your long-term liability in the balance sheet. So in your finance by section, creditors amounts falling due after 1 year, we're going to have €60,000. Okay, and you're basically going to write that off every year until the whole thing is paid off. Okay, the next working that we're looking at is rent, and it says the figure for rent was in respect of an adjoining building rented by Kelly on the 1st of the 8th 2012. So rented by Kelly, which means that he's renting it, so it's going to be an expense. It was payable in advance, and Kelly estimates that half of the building was used as a private residence. Okay, so private residence drawings straight away. And the 25% of light and heat used. So we'll worry about light and heat in a few minutes. So it says the figure for rent was in respect of an adjoining building rented by Kelly. So let's look for the rent figure. It should be in your bank payment section there. We've got rent for 1 year. Okay, so I'll do this one down here. Rent. Rent for 1 year was 22,000. 1 year, €22,800. Okay, and it says that half of the building was used as a private residence. Okay, so half of that, 22,800, was for a whole year. Half of that is 11,400. Straight away, that's gone to drawings. Okay. Okay, so that is drawings. I'll put an asterisk beside that for when we're doing our drawings working. So that means the other €11,400 was actually got to do with the business. I'll write that beside it, business. And that figure there is for 1 whole year. And if we only started renting the building on the 1st of the 8th, which is the 1st of August, that means only a few months are for this year, and the remainder then is for next year. Okay, so the rent figure for this year will only be 5 months. So August, September, October, November and December. That's 5 months. So multiply that by 5 over 12, and that will give you €4,750. Okay, so that figure is my charge for the year. And that's an expense in the profit and loss. And then you've got some prepaid. So of the 11,400, 4,750 €750 is for this year. So you're trying to find out what your prepaid figure is. So put into your calculator €11,400 minus your €4,750, and that should give you 6650, and that's your prepaid figure at the end of the year. So that is good for us to be paying for our rent before it's due. So that is a current asset in the balance sheet. Okay, and that's that working. Next is light and heat. Just put this over here. Light and heat, and this is coming from the same section in the question. It says 25% of light and heat used being the important word there, should be attributed to the private section of the business. And when you see a private section of the business, that's drawings. Okay, so light and heat. Okay, so light and heat used. So you need to be careful. What was the story with light and heat? Do we have anything at the start of the year? Do we have anything at the end of the year? Okay, so in this question, there's nothing at the start of the year that tells us anything about light and heat. So we start off with the figure that's in the bank. Light and heat in the bank is your €4,600 figure. Okay, then at the end of the year, it says we have a stock of heating oil of €500. Okay, oil at the end of the year, 31st to the 12th, stock. So you have €500 of oil sitting somewhere in a tank. It wasn't used this year, so it shouldn't be included in this year's figure, and that's why I'm subtracting it. Okay, that will be used next year. So that's a current asset. Also, at the end of the year, we have electricity due of €640. So we have a bill that we haven't paid yet. That was for electricity that was used this year, so that needs to be added in. Electricity due, and you're adding in that €640. Okay, and you're putting into your calculator 4,600 minus your 500 plus your €640, which means that we actually used €4,740. So basically, this is how much we paid in electricity, but included in that we've got €500 of stock left over, so we need to take that out. Plus there's a bill that we haven't paid for yet, so that's not included in this figure, so you need to add that 640. So the amount of electricity we actually used was €4,740, and of that 25% is drawings. Okay, so that you get 25% of this figure, which is €1,185. Okay, and I'll put my asterisk beside that again. Okay, so that means the charge for the year is €3,555. That's my charge for the year. Okay, so let's mark what we need. We've got stock of oil, that's good for us, current asset in the balance sheet. We have electricity due, not good, current liability in the balance sheet. And we have drawings, which we'll come back to, so that's why I have the asterisk there. And my charge for the year then is going to be the expense in the profit and loss. Okay, you also need to check and see what other workings we have to do. We'll just scan the top there. Was there anything up the top of the question that we haven't dealt with yet? We have insurance there. We had 3 months insurance, premises insurance prepaid at the start of the year, and then we had another annual premises insurance paid. So we need to do that working. So that's the working I'm going to do next. Insurance. So we had prepaid at the start of the year, at the first of the first, €430. So that €430 worth of insurance was for insurance that was used this year. Okay, it was cover for this year. Then we ended up paying for another whole year insurance, annual, that's in our bank, payments of €3,000. Okay, so that's 3 months, and that's another 12 months. We don't have 15 months in a year, which means this annual payment includes 3 months that's for next year. So you need to put into your calculator 3,000 multiplied by 3 out of 12. Okay, and that's €750. Okay, so that's prepaid at the end of the year. So that €750 is for insurance, for cover for next year. So that shouldn't be included in this year's figure, which leaves this year's charge at €2,680. So that's the charge for the year. So that's my expense in the profit and loss. And I've paid this in advance. That's good for me. So that's a current asset in the balance sheet. Okay. Then we've got wages. We had wages due at the start of the year. And we've got no wages due at the end of the year, so there's a small work in there as well. Wages, I'll just push this up a small bit. wages. So we had wages due on the 1st of the 1st, and that was €1,200. So at the start of the year, there was money owed to employees, which means that that's not for work that was carried out in this financial year. So you have to take that away. Okay, that work was carried out last year, so it shouldn't be included in this year's figure. Then we've got our general expenses figure, which is in the cash payments, general expenses, and that's where your wages will be included. So that's what we're adjusting, general expenses. So €22,500. So of the €22,500, €1,200 was actually for last year. So the amount that's for this year is €21,300, and that's the charge for the year. And that's my expense, the profit and loss. This is not going anywhere because it's got to do it last year. We included it in the goodwill working. Okay, that's it then. In terms of the workings, the only other thing that we need to do is, well, the two things actually. We need to do our bank account to find out what our final bank balance was and calculate the total drawing. So I'm going to start off with the bank account. Okay, so I've got my bank account ruled out. And we're going to start filling in the information. I'm going to get this information to begin with anyway from the bank payments and bank lodgement section. I'm going to start off with my debit side, which would be the lodgement section. And in there we have debtors of €32,000. 32,000. We have cash of 94,000. And we've dividends of €3,600. And don't forget about those dividends. That's going to be capital introduced when we're doing these questions, when you're doing your balance sheet. Then that's all that's given to me in the question. Well, straightforward in the question. And now I'm going to start filling in the credit side. So my bank payment section. So in here I have equipment of 30. So that's important, that equipment. That's going to be a fixed asset in the balance sheet. Check and see, did you have any equipment at the start of the year? You didn't. So 30,000 is going to go into your balance sheet. And then we've got creditors. Creditors of 34,200. Then we've light and heat of 4,600. We have interest of 2,400. We have insurance of €3,000. We had a standing order for charity. That's going to be an expense, so don't forget about that either. I'll write that beside it, expense. We have a vehicle of 32,000. The vehicle is not a standard purchase. It is a fixed asset, and we had none at the start of the year, so that's going to be a fixed asset in the balance sheet as well. And we also had rent, which we adjusted already. Rent of €22,800. Okay, and what other things did we have? Check out other things. We did get a loan. Remember, we got the loan. So that would have been money coming into our account. So when you get a loan off a bank, they put the money into your bank account. So when he got that loan of 72, it came into his bank account, and you need to remember that. So loan. Okay, what happened with the loan then? Did he spend it? Part of which was used to purchase an adjoining warehouse costing €60,000. So he got a loan of 72 and he spent 60 of it on a warehouse. He didn't spend the other 12,000, he just left that in his bank account. So at this point then you're ready to total. Okay, so your total should be, so you're adding up the debit side and you're adding up the credit side. You're finding out which side is bigger. So in this question we have the debit side is bigger than the credit side, so you're putting the total of the bigger side into both totals. So we've got 201,600, so €201,600. Okay, so this side here is only adding up to €191,500. So you're trying to find out what the balance is. So what figure do we need to put in here to make this side add up to 201,600? So our balance to be carried down is 10,100 euro. And you're bringing that down on the opposite side, 10,100 euro, and that's our balance brought down. And when the balance is on the debit side, that means it's a current asset in the balance sheet. And if it ends up on the credit side, it's a liability. And just so you know, you don't have to do this in a T account format. You can do it in a sum, like the goodwill figure. You can do it in, you add up all of your money in, add up all your money out and take them away if you want to do that way either. The last thing that we have to do then in this question, the very last thing, you should always leave it to last, is getting your drawings figure. So your final drawings figure. We had 4 things I think that we labelled. So drawings. Okay, so remember, drawings are when the owner takes goods or maybe money or from the business for his own personal use. So first thing we had was cash. Okay, so remember, these are all the things that we've put an asterisk beside during the question. So we had cash of 3,120 euro, and that was because he took cash of 60 euro per week for the whole year. We also have purchases. So he took purchases of 4,160 euro. Rent, part of the building that they were renting was for private use. That was 11,400 euro taken out. And also some of the light and heat was paid for by the business, light and heat. And that was 1,185 euro. So the total is 19,865 euro. Okay, and that is what's going to go into the financed by section in the balance sheet. Okay, and now you are ready to actually do the accounts. So this is the trading profit and loss account. You're getting 52 marks for this trading profit and loss account, and then you will be getting 40 marks for your balance sheet. So we start off with our sales figure, which we calculated by finding the cash sales and the credit sales. That was ended up being 205,770, and obviously the cash account is included in calculating that figure, and that's why you're awarded 10 marks for that figure. Then we have our less cost of sales, starting off with our opening stock, which we're getting from the start of the question of 14,300 euro. Then our purchases figure, which we calculate in our workings. So you're adding in that 78,140 euro. So you're getting 7 marks for that. Obviously we had a bit of a working there on drawings with that one as well. Then we take away our closing stock, which is 15,000 euro, and that's coming from the bottom of the question. But just be careful to make sure you're only putting the 15,000 in, not the 15,500, because remember that 500 is actually oil. It's not stock of purchases, or trading stock. So that leaves our cost of sales at 77,440 euro, and you take that away from the 205,770, which leaves you with a gross profit of 128,330 euro. We've got no income in this question, so we're going straight in for expenses. So less expenses. We've our general expenses coming from the workings, where we had the wages due at the start of the year. We've our light and heat working, obviously a good bit in that one, so you're getting 7 marks for that. That is 3,555. We've interest, that's our loan interest of 3,600. So that actually doesn't need to be shown on its own. It can go straight in as a standard expense. You don't need to follow the rules as you would for a company account, etc. Insurance is 2,680 euro, because obviously we had some prepaid for next year. Your charitable donation, that 2,500 euro, do not forget about that. That's hidden in your bank payment section, so make sure you're remembering that. And the rent figure then is the very last one of 4,750 euro. So remember, we had to split that working. We had to split the rent figure into the drawings and the business charge, and then you had to calculate that some of it was prepaid for next year. So our total expenses work out at 38,385,000. You're taking that from your gross profit figure, and that leaves you with a net profit of 89,945 euro, and that's for 6 marks. So that's the trading profit and loss account. Next, you're moving on to the balance sheet. Okay, so you're starting off your balance sheet with your goodwill figure, which was the very first thing that we calculated when we did this question. So 20,670 euro is our intangible fixed asset. Okay, and you're getting 3 marks for that. Then we've got our buildings. So where does that buildings figure come from? Well, I suppose it comes from the buildings that we had at the start of the year, the €174,000 on the first, plus you're adding in that additional warehouse of 60,000, and that's where that figure there is coming from, the 234. Okay, so be careful of that. That's why you're getting an extra mark for that one. Vehicles then and equipment, I marked both of those in your bank account that they were going to be fixed assets. So be careful of that when you're doing your bank account. Make sure you're noticing anything else that you haven't done a working for that you may need to put into one of your accounts. So our total tangible fixed assets then is €296,000, and you're adding that on to your goodwill figure to bring your total fixed assets to €316,670. Starting off, next is our current assets, starting off with your closing stock of 15,000 and your stock of oil of €500. Okay, so you're splitting those for your balance sheet. Show them separate, don't just put in the 15,500. Then we have our debtors figure of 16,600, that's coming from the bottom of the question. Our bank account of €10,100, 7 marks for that. Obviously there was an awful lot of work that went into that, so that's why you're getting such a high amount of marks for that. Our cash then at the end of the year was an asset of 550,000. We also had insurance prepaid for next year, €750, and we also have a rent prepaid of €6,650. Okay, less our creditors amounts falling due within 1 year, which is our current liability section. We have creditors of €14,300. We have electricity due, that they're coming from the bottom of the question, 640. We have interest due of 1,200. We calculated that in our workings, and we also calculated the loan instalment due, or the loan repayment of 12,000 is due next year as well. So next year we will have 50,000 coming in and 28 leaving the business. So this is a liquid company. You don't have to say that in this question, but it is important for you to be or it's good for you to be noticing, okay, this is a liquid company, and it will help you understand your question 5s. Okay, so we've got a working capital of €22,010, and you're adding that then to your 316,670, which leaves you with your balance of 338,680. Okay, now so that's basically saying your worth of the business at the end of the year was €338,680, and now you're on to your financed by section. So financed by, if we could put that heading in there, we need to have creditors amounts falling due. After more than 1 year, we've got our loan. So the 72,000 minus the 12 that we had up here already. Okay. Then we have our capital section. We had our capital at the start of the year, which is the €205,000 that the owner spent on buying the business. Then we had our capital introduced, which was in the form of dividends in this question. So remember, in our bank account on the debit side, we had dividends, and I labelled that as capital introduced. Our net profit then is coming from up here, the 89,945 is being brought down and added in down here. Okay, you're adding those 3 up, and then you're taking away your drawings figure. You have 4 marks for the drawings, so I suppose 1 mark for each thing that you put into drawings. That leaves you then with 278,680, and you're adding that to the 60,000, which leaves you with your capital employed figure of €338,680. And the final part of this question then is an 8-mark theory part, and it says, what additional information would be available to Kelly if he used the double entry system to record financial transactions? So obviously this topic is called incomplete records, and we are trying to complete a set of accounts based on incomplete information, okay, or a business, maybe a smaller business that doesn't keep correct records. So that's why we're working backwards and trying to figure out from the information we're given what the credit sales are, what the credit purchases are, what the drawings are, and all of those things that we adjusted there in that question. So if this person was to use the double entry system to record all the transactions, the following information here would be available. Okay, so you'd be given a sentence, don't just give it bullet points like this. So when you get these marking schemes, they're just kind of skeleton marking schemes. So say, if E. Kelly was to use a double entry system, he would have access to the following information. So he would have a trial balance, okay, he would have his general or nominal ledger accounts, okay, so that would be like your insurance account and your rent account and your discount account, etc. So he would have his total sales figure. If he kept a double entry, he would have his debtors accounts opened. He'd be doing his control accounts. He'd be having individual accounts as well, and he'd know exactly how many credit sales he has or credit purchases. Okay, so the total sales figure and the total purchase figure would be very easy for him to see what those figures are. He would obviously have his bank balance figure as well. We had to do a working for that. His capital and his drawings. So you know what they are. Capital is money put into the business by the owner, and capital is things taken from the business by the owner. Bad debts, he would know them. Expenses, due and prepaid. So, and also his discount allowed and discount received. So if you just think of the question that you're after doing, what did you have to figure out that maybe if this person actually kept a double entry bookkeeping system that you wouldn't have to figure out? Okay, and that's what you were getting 8 marks for. So I'd try and give 4 things there for 2 marks each.